So the Big.Trail is a staple bike in Merida's lineup, starting life as a plus tyre bike back in 2016, then getting a bit of refresh in 2019, now 2024, and this is what we've got. It's a bit more radical, bit longer, and it sits in with the new sizing concept, and we'll talk about the bike a little bit and we'll do some riding a bit later. Right, so while the Big.Trail might look rather similar to the one that we tested a few years ago now and loved, there's a lot of changes going on here. So they're all rather small, but they kind of collect together to create a very different bike. So to start, the geometry, again, is very different, and it benefits from Merida's new agilometer concept that we saw on the 160 and the 140. And that kind of brings in lower seat tubes, shorter stacks, and longer dropper posts. And the whole idea behind that is that shorter riders can size up much easier, or taller riders can benefit from a smaller bike and get all of the agility. So if we dive into those geometry details a little bit, this is a long frame which gets a 480mm reach. We've then got a 64-degree head tube angle, which is a degree and a half slacker than before. Over towards the seat tube, we've got a 76.5-degree seat tube angle, which is mighty steep. And then there is a 435mm chainstay. Importantly, this bike now gets a lower bottom bracket, so you should feel more in the bike as you're riding it. So as before, the bike is a full 29er, and we got 140mm suspension from this RockShox Pike fork. But there are some differences. So the cables now go through the head tube like we've seen on the brand's full suspension bikes. And of course, we've got lots of mounting points, so we can put bottles up here, we can put other things here, and another bottle down there if you really wanted to. And then there's improved chainstay protection. As you can see, it's really ribbed, so that should dampen sound while keeping the chainstay in good nick. And as always, this bike is filled with kind of things that we expect from Merida. So we've got a nice multi-tool underneath the saddle, and there's a multi-tool hidden in the rear axle as well. So you basically sorted straight out of the box. So that's basically all of the new stuff that we see on the Big.Trail, but the best thing is, this is the top end bike and it costs just £2,000. There is also another level which is £1,700 as well, so Merida is still hitting a fantastic price point here. But that is the full bike. We're going to go and do a bit more riding, and we'll get you some impressions as we do that. Alright, so this is the brand new Big.Trail, and as we're doing a bit of pedaling, we might as well talk about that. And of course, it's a hardtail, so you get all of the power directly to the rear wheel. That's all good stuff, because it means you can go up a hill rather quick, and yeah, it's a pleasant thing to be on. New steeper seat tube is such a good idea, because like it shoves weight further forwards over the bottom bracket, so it means that both wheels will stay planted on the ground as you climb up more technical terrain. And there's definitely some credit to the new tyre spec. So on the old bike, it used to be EXO casings only, front and rear, and Maxxis dissectors, front and rear. And during my test, I actually put a Minion on the front from Maxxis, and that's basically what we've got here. So we've got a Maxxis Minion at the front, 2.4 inch wide with an EXO casing. At the rear, we've got fast rolling, but actually rather grippy dissector. Again, 2.4 width with an EXO Plus casing, which is great for a hardtail because it means you can properly abuse the rear end, but without worrying about killing the rim. You've got a good bit more protection there, proper handy. As for the cockpit length, it's compact, it's not stretched out. It's a trail bike, it's nothing too crazy here. It feels pretty good. Right, let's go try to find some descent so we can talk about things a little bit deeper. All right, so we have found a descent. We did it earlier, but I forgot where it was. So for reference, when I tested the Big.Trail a little while ago, I popped the card up in here. I actually rode an XL frame. I usually ride a large, but that just goes to show what was going on with that bike's geometry and how different this is now. So this is a long frame, which is equivalent to a large, and it feels spot on. But what is real clear is the relationship between the new slacker head tube and that bottom bracket, which is lower than before, because it makes you feel in the bike, and all of that feeling ups confidence in a big way. So although this is quite a brutal hardtail in the fact that there's not much in terms of compliance, you can really rag this bike and put a lot of confidence behind it, and it just takes it, gets some good speed thanks to that new longer wheelbase, and it's all cool. It's mostly about hanging on and figuring out, or trying to keep your ankles from blowing up, because I will admit it's quite an unforgiving ride. It's got those smaller tyres, so on a lot of hardtails we see 2.6-inch rubber. Oh man, this trail, so unpredictable, even though I know it and love it. So yeah, usually on a hardtail like this, it comes with 2.6-inch rubber, which has quite a lot of damping and makes for an easier going ride. Whereas this comes with 2.4s, we're told it could come with 2.5s, which will help things along quite a lot. But then, that BB being so low does fantastic things for this bike in the corners, combined with a reasonably sensible chainstay. I mean, it's not super long, it's not super short, so it's predictable, but also pretty zesty in the corners. That's basically the end of the trail. So yeah, it's a rad machine. It's got good improvements, and I think this bike will be much more enjoyable by people who are like deep into their riding career and those who are new because of the price point. So the new Big.Trail, and what an improvement. I loved the old bike, it has a special place in my heart, but admittedly there were a few things that went a little bit wrong. There are a few quirks really. Saying it's wrong is a bit harsh, but those quirks came mostly in the bike sizing, where an extra large frame was my size, where I'd usually ride a large, and that's quite a hard thing to communicate. But the new agile concept directly addresses that. So we've now got like a very modern trail hardtail with a very modern geometry. We've got a slack head tube angle, which plays very nicely with the low bottom bracket, which puts you in the bike and kind of ups stability in quite a big way, especially in the corners. This bike corners really nicely. In the rear end, like, it's not terribly long, but it's not terribly short. So you've got a bike that's planted when you climb, but it has that kind of zip and zest in the corners, so it gets real good fun. It is an alloy bike, so it is very stiff. It transfers a lot of feedback through to your feet, so on extended descents it does get a little bit harsh, but you can fit a bigger tyre if you want to. But I think the best thing is that this is a lot of bike for the money, and it rides incredibly well for just £2,000. Merida's done a fantastic job of hitting a great price point here. And of course, it's got a nice long dropper post that gives you loads of room to move over the rear end. This bike looks ready for quite a lot of riding. As always, we'll have a written review over at off-road.cc, so go and have a look at that if you want a more in-depth look at the bike. But we do have this bike for a bit longer, so we've got a couple of months to put this bike properly through its paces. So keep your eyes peeled on the website and the YouTube channel for a more in-depth full review coming in just a couple of months. But as always, thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next one.